Okie dokie, I believe we are all the way live. Hello and welcome to my graveyard. I am your host of the evening, the Cemetery Man from Salem, Mass. Always taking names of kick and candy ass, live and in living color here with you only on Grande's Graveyard. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the new year. It is 2025 on Grande's Graveyard, the very first edition of the new year. And I'm excited as always to be here. We're kicking it off with a new show, a show that I've never done before. Of course, I have numerous specials and shows that I've done numerous parts and sequels to, but tonight it is a first time ever on Grande's Graveyard as we dive headfirst into the serial killer movie special. Yes, ladies and gents, we have 3 serial killer movies and absolutely no regrets tonight on Grande's Graveyard. Of course, first from the year 1986. It was a good year. That's the last year the Mets won anything. Of course, starring the legendary Michael Rooker, the movie that made his career, and of course, Tom Towles, may he rest in peace, Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer. And then, of course, from the year 2003, starring Charlize Theron and Christina Ricci, of course, Theron in a Oscar-winning performance, it is Monster. And lastly, but certainly not leastly, from the year 1995, David Fincher's big bounce back from Alien 3, starring Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman. I'm talking about Seven. Yes, Seven from 1995. So we've got 3 awesome movies here tonight. I really do love all 3 of these. We're starting the new year off hot, and I'm very excited to have you all in the house. I hope everyone had a wonderful, safe, happy, healthy new year. But let's see what you all have to say in the comments. Ciao, Grande and Graveyardian friends. I've seen all of the movies being discussed. I have thoughts on them, but will keep my opinions. Will my opinions gel with Grande? Find out tonight, only on the Graveyard. Well, I'm very interested to hear your opinions. I saw your review of Monster, and I was very stoked to see your thoughts on that. We got Joe Mama in the hazy. Let's go, Joe Mama. Slasher Fred is in the house. What's going on, Fred? I think that what makes these movies so terrifying is how the antagonists in these movies seem very trustworthy at first, where unlike traditional antagonists who are feared by their targets. That's a great point, and pretty much, yeah, all 3 of these movies, I don't know about Seven, but the other 2 definitely, the killers have their trustworthy moments, or their moments where they seem like perfectly fine / decent / normal people, and the next thing they know that they're killing you. So they definitely know what you mean here. Woo, woo, hell yeah. Mr. Dan is in the house. Hey, Grande and friends. Hey, Mr. Dan, hope all is well with you. Hope you had a happy new year, my friend, and a happier birthday. Ciao Grande question. What's in the box? What's in the box? Matteo Appendino is here. Ciao, Matteo. Hope all is well with you. We're going to find out what's in this son of a bitchin' box. I'm telling you right here and now. We got Donovan Alba in the hazy. Grande time. Let's get it started and take out those White Castle sliders. Hell yeah. Who's got me a slider? Anybody got a chicken ring slider or a double cheeseburger slider? I love me some sliders in this son of a bitch. So Donovan's my guy. Donovan is all about White Castle just like me. So hope all is well with you, Donovan. We got AJ's Happy Fun Time channel in the house. Hello, all. And you know what? What better way to kick this show off than to say cheers to the New Year's, of course. I've got a boring bottle of water tonight. Sorry about that, y'all. I'm not drinking the Dew on Grande's Graveyard. Of course, everyone knows that's my drink. But tonight, we're sticking with a little bit of H2O. Cheers, everybody. Cheers to a safe, happy, healthy New Year. And since, like I said, I saw AJ Zitro's name, I figure we start this show off hot. I figure we start this show off with one of the all-time great serial killer movies. And it could be my number one. I mean, it would depend. I'd really have to sit down. I'd really have to look at every single serial killer movie that I have seen and I do enjoy. But I do think this one would be in contention for the number one slot, and maybe gun to my head or knife to my throat, bottle to my face in this particular movie. I would have to pick this one here from the year 1986. I know this didn't really get the biggest theatrical run until like the early 1990s, of course, because of some of its content matter. And I, of course, am talking to you about this little movie right here, Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer. He's not Freddy. He's not Jason. He's real. Yes. Brief plot synopsis. Arriving in Chicago, Henry moves in with ex-acquaintance Otis and starts schooling him in the ways of being a serial killer. Wow. I mean, ever since the first time I saw Henry, I was really disturbed. This is a movie that does everything that a good quintessential serial killer movie should do. It should disturb you. It should offend. It should make you feel cold and unsettled. And Henry is a movie that does that in flying colors. I mean, it's just really, really well done from the direction standpoint. Of course, it was the directorial debut of one John McNaughton, who didn't go on to make too many horror films. Of course, his most notable film after this probably would be Wild Ones with Denise Richards and a little Scream royalty and Neve Campbell. And everyone remembers that hot pool scene where the lesbian making out in the pool scene, and Kevin Dillon and Kevin Bacon. And that's a great movie. I really enjoy Wild Ones. And of course, he would come back 20 years later and direct an episode of Masters of Horror when George Romero bailed out in Haeckel's Tale. So John McNaughton, it's not that he's done a lot of horror movies, but man, you make a movie like this and you're a master of horror forever in my eyes. And of course, that all starts and begins with the guy playing Henry in one Michael Rooker, who has become pretty much a household name. I mean, everybody seems to know Michael Rooker now. And if you don't know him from this, and if you don't remember him from Mallrats and the Stank Palm, maybe you'll remember him from Guardians of the Galaxy being Mary Poppins, I mean, Michael Rooker is all over the place in comedies and dramas and serious movies. And of course, made his real debut, his real lead starring role in the movie that I think put him on the map for good in this movie as he plays Henry, this serial killer. And of course, it was based off the real life serial killer in Henry Lee Lucas. And you have the infamous story where he showed up. He was working as a janitor at the time, Michael Rooker, and he just nailed the audition. And they were like, we have to go with this guy. He's the money. Like, this is our guy. This is Henry. And, right off the bat, I think this movie just has one of the coldest openings where we see some of the victims that Henry is killed. And it's not them being killed, it's just aftermath. And we see these slow, kind of monotonous shots of the aftermath of these killings. You have one lady strangled with the phone cord around her neck. You have one guy, he's just face down on his desk. You have one woman where, half of her yits are out and there's a bottle just stuck into her face in the bathroom. And we hear this very creepy, eerie music. And then we're introduced to Henry himself. And we see his everyday life and what he does and his ins and outs. And of course, his roommate, played by Tom Towles, named Otis. And I don't know about anybody else. Like, I always felt this way. As great as Michael Rooker is in this movie, and he is the best thing in it, there's no doubt, I always thought Tom Towles was just as good, if not better, and how much he was able to fucking scare me in this movie. Tom Towles is electric in this role, and he'd go on to do quite a few horror movies. Of course, Night of the Living Dead 90s, the Cooper character, and House of a Thousand Corpses. He's one of the lead sheriffs with Walton Goggins. He's the lead sheriff in the movie. I mean, I'm a big fan. I like Tom Towles. May he rest in peace. He died way too young. But the two of them are basically living in this kind of shithole rundown apartment. And of course, Otis's sister comes to stay with them. And it's there where we get some of the most interesting dialogue that you can hear in any of these movies. I mean, I think the best scene in this is when Henry sits down with, of course, Becky, who's the sister character of Otis, and they talk about each other's childhoods. I always thought that was the best scene in Henry. And for example, there's an earlier scene where Otis and Becky are talking, and he says, she's like, what's so bad about him? Well, what did he do? Kill his mama? And he goes, yeah. Without any, he's like, yeah, he did kill his mama, actually. And she's like, well, how did he do it? And he's like, oh, well, I heard he did it with a baseball bat. And don't you tell him I told you now, you hear? And she's like, okay, no, I won't tell him at all. And then the next chance she gets, I heard you killed your mama. And she sits down with him. And they have this amazing back and forth where she decides and discusses her entire childhood life, where her father was molesting her and she married some loser just to get out of the house. And the mother never listened to her, but she did believe it deep down inside. She just chose to pretend she didn't believe it. Just really sickening and disturbing stuff. And then we get to Henry's home life, his childhood, as he discusses how his mother used to bring men home and have sex with him and make Henry watch in the corner, and how sometimes they would humiliate him by making him wear a dress and beat the holy hell out of him. And all of this horrific stuff. I mean, these horrific stories. Really gives you the leeway and vision to see why exactly these people are in the predicaments that they're in, and why they've become so fucking crazy. And you see that. You could totally see the scarred childhood, the scarred past of Henry. And I think a thing that I always caught and I always really liked was that he can never give the straight story on how he did kill his mother. We hear she was killed, beaten with a baseball bat. We hear she was stabbed to death. We hear she was shot. we never get the actual how actually was she killed? Do you want to throw anything? Was she burned alive? Was she beaten to death? Like, how the hell did she actually die? And I always think the Heath Ledger Joker, right? It's, you want to know how I got these scars? It's the same type of psychology. We don't know how he killed his mother. Long story short is, though, she fucked him up. It was all of her over sexualized, home being, and making him, subjecting him to all of these horrible things that she was doing. And then one day he snapped, and he can't quite grasp how he did it. He was in just such a blind, violent rage. And that is truly what the nature of a killer is. I don't think they hesitate. I don't think they have remorse. They have uncaring eyes, and they will kill whatever is in front of them, because that's the nature of a killer. And I think that Michael Rooker just does a great job really disappearing into this role and kind of really subduing it to something that I just think should be studied. That's how good he is in this role. And of course, there are some really disturbing sequences of he and Otis going around town murdering people. There's a scene where they murder these prostitutes and then throw them away like they're garbage. There's the classic scene where they go to buy a TV from this fat fuck in like an alley, and they go in there and, hey, we got $50, and all right, I'll give you that set over there for $50. And he's like, well, this doesn't have no color. And he's like, I ain't giving you a colored set for $50. And they keep arguing, going back and forth and all this stuff. This is a video camera. And it all kind of escalates to, did I stutter, you dumbass? Give me the $50. And they fucking hold the guy back and keep stabbing the fucking son of a bitch. I mean, it's holy shit. And of course, to me, the most disturbing scene in this whole movie is the home invasion scene, where they shoot it all on a camcorder, and it's Michael Rooker filming Otis taking advantage of this woman. And then, of course, who else walks in but the son? There's like a young son, like early teen son, that walks in and sees his mother being attacked, his father being beat and gagged on the floor. And the son kind of walks in and goes to make a run for it. Michael Rooker just snaps his neck in front of the mother, and then she gets her neck snapped. I mean, you want to see a disturbing scene, you look no fucking further than that home invasion scene. Like, just truly, since the first time I watched it, I have a very hard time watching that scene. It's so disturbing and impactful in what it's doing. And I think even a step further than that, why I always was a little bit more scared of Tom Towles as opposed to Henry, was the fact that they're watching it after the fact, right? They're playing it on the VHS player. And you see that Tom Towles can't get enough of it. He wants to rewind it and watch it again and again and again, to the point where it's like, dude, what the fuck is wrong with you? You're watching this shit on repeat and rewinding it over and over again until you literally fall asleep. That's a sicko. That's a psychopath. That is a serial killer. That is an absolute fucking maniac. And I thought they both just gelled off each other so fucking well, man. Their chemistry, Tom Towles and of course Michael Rooker respectively, they worked great together in this movie. Of course, it is shot on 16 millimeter. It's really grainy, especially depending on the copy that you watch. I know Dark Sky released this and cleaned out all the grain. I don't know if that was really necessary for a movie like this. To me, a movie like Henry should be watched with all the fucking grain you can get, because this is really 16 millimeter. This is really guerrilla. I mean, this is a movie that John McNaughton made a lot of the time without permits, right? There's a lot of different scenes in this movie of violence, but you never even see a police authority. You never see a cop. He creates this world where we can never really be lulled in a sense of safety. Everything just feels dangerous. And I think that's what makes Henry stand apart from a lot of these other serial killer movies that have been made over time. And I know this movie had the worst time in the world trying to get a release. Now, this was shot and completed. This was shot in like 1984, 85-ish. And it was completed and ready to come out in 86, but they fought the ratings board. The ratings board wanted to give it an X. They were like, we're not releasing this R-rated. We're not doing it. And it's funny to me in a time where it was right before the MPAA was getting crazy, you know, like movies like this suffered. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Movies like Sleepaway Camp 3 and Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3 and Friday the 13th Part 7. These are movies that really, really struggled with the MPAA. But this is a time where that wasn't happening, right? Early 85, 84, 86-ish, it wasn't really getting there. You were getting there, but you weren't there yet. They had the hell of a time trying to get this passed as an R rating. And John McNaughton was like, I'm not cutting any of the film. I want to keep this the way it is. I mean, you have all of these movies, and that's why I always laugh at the poster. He's not Freddy. He's not Jason. But Freddie and Jason were getting these big theatrical releases, and they were way more gory and I guess more graphic with its kills than this particular movie is. I think it's a complete tonal difference as to why Henry was given an X and those other movies were given, R's of flying colors. The tones of these movies, especially, some of the later Freddy sequels, I'm rocking the Dream Warrior shirt right here. I'll be the first one to tell you, as much as I love Dream Warriors, there's some goofy stuff in it. There's some goofy kills. It's a tongue-in-cheek slasher movie, right? Movie like Henry, there's nothing tongue-in-cheek about it. It's fucking raw. It's real. It's gritty. It's exploitative, and it's unforgiving every single step of the way. And there's really not too many laughs to be had there. Now, there's a couple, right? I mean, there's the whole, hey, how about them bears? Fuck the bears. I mean, that's a great line. And the whole, hey, I got a job as a shampoo girl at the beauty parlor. What are you doing there? What do you think I'm doing, you big dummy? What the fuck? Do I look like I've ever been into a beauty parlor? I love that back and forth. That shit's funny. But okay, these are lines of comedy relief, I guess. The overall product, the overall tone, feel, vibe is truly disturbing. And that's why I think Henry, it took all of these years until the early 1990s for it to get that theatrical release. Now, it wasn't a big theatrical release, unfortunately, but this was a movie that's kind of grown a cult following over the 5 to 6 to 7 years where it played in solely midnight screenings in New York and Chicago, respectively. Of course, most of this was shot in Chicago, so it makes sense to do New York screenings, midnight screenings there. And then, of course, New York. If you're a New Yorker, if you're a guy like me, if you know of IFC theaters and midnight movies and shit like that in the city, and real sometimes good areas in the village, sometimes bad areas in the city. I mean, we'll be honest here. Midnight movies are no stranger to us, so it makes sense that this is a movie that played in the 80s only at midnight in New York City. It became an attraction. It became, something to do on a Friday night. And that's the thing with Henry too. I think it was garnering that big cult following, by word of mouth, and then finally got its theatrical run. And I know AJ mentioned this to me. He said he saw it in like early high school years, and it just blew his fucking mind because there was really nothing else on the market like it at that time. I mean, maybe it was a movie like Silence of the Lambs that got Henry to finally get that push and get a normal theatrical release. But I'm not sure at the end of the day if that is the case. I'm really not sure. But what I am sure of is just how fantastic this movie is directed, and especially how fantastically it is acted by one Michael Rooker and Tom Towles. I think they just are electric together. And of course, I mean, everyone has their issues with the ending. I know a lot of people don't like the ending. And that is what it is. I know that a lot of people have problems with it, but I always really liked the ending. I always thought it was super cold. And that's the only way a movie like this really can end, where, it culminates to the point where Otis is trying to rape his sister Becky, and he's of course going to kill Henry. She bashes him over the head with something, and then Henry kills his ass, and it looks like they're going to drive away and live happily ever after. And Henry, I love you. And you get the, yeah, I guess I love you too. And the last shot we see is him dropping off this bag covered in blood and hair as we kind of do this pan out as Henry drives away, and you get the idea that he's killed Becky too. And again, because that is what a killer does, right? That's in his nature to do something like that. And that, I think, is the whole point of the film. It's like, why would he kill her? Because he's a fucking killer. That's why. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that, man. And I know some people don't like that, but I always thought that was the only way you could really end it. You can't have him drive off into the sunset with this lady, and I'm fine, and all my sexual repression is, it doesn't bother me anymore, and how many times or ways I thought I killed my mom. No, that's not the point of it at all. He's a killer through and through, and there's no sense, there's no rhyme, there's no reason, there's no remorse. There is only killing at any means cost. And I think that Michael Rooker just does a great job in this movie. So Henry is, I think, one of the best, if not the best, serial killer movie out there. But let's see what y'all have to say. I'm sorry, I've been in the review mode for far too long here. Let's see what y'all have to say. Dominic St. Clair is in the Heezy. What's going on? DSC, Happy New Year, sir. Right on target. Ayo, what's up? Henry rocks. Michael Rooker, the GOAT. Dude, I totally agree with you. I think this is just a great performance, great movie all around. John McNaughton doesn't get enough love, man. John McNaughton did a really good job with this. And it's funny, I was reading in show prep for this that they did the musical score, which is a great musical score. I mean, if you haven't heard that score, listen to that score. It's just really, really good. they recorded a lot of it at a Christian rock studio in Chicago. And they were like, hey, we would love to see some of the movie that you're shooting. So they must have showed Henry, a screener or a VHS copy or something of this to a Christian rock studio. And they were apparently appalled and shocked and like, we didn't know you were doing this. And I could just only imagine the look on the face of somebody like that that's not accustomed to seeing movies like this. But again, I will always say this too. It's not that this movie is overly graphic and offensive to a degree of movies that we have come on to see years and years down the pike, right? I mean, is this as offensive as a Martyrs? No. Is it as graphic as a Serbian film? No. Is this as crazy as Inside? Is this as, extreme as a Cannibal Holocaust? No. To all of them, no. But it's cold, and I would dare to say it's colder than all of those movies. And tonally, it's just fucking raw. And that to me is what makes a truly great serial killer film. I think you have to have that element of raw, and they captured it here, man. And shooting it on 16 millimeter, blowing it up really helped it. The grain really, it's just it makes you want to take a shower after seeing a movie like this. One of the most classic serial killer movies is Alfred Hitchcock's Shadow of the Doubt. In that movie, you have two characters named Charlie. Okay. It's a mannequin massacre opening. Okay. The poster in that movie where Henry is looking in the mirror looks like something out of the classic scene from Taxi Driver. Absolutely. I could totally see Taxi Driver vibes from this. I could see Maniac, Joe Spinell. I could see Don't Go in the House. I could see Christmas Evil. There's a lot of movies with this similar, I guess, idea. But I don't know if any of them, like I said, captures that raw feeling like Henry does. I think that's what sets Henry apart. Happy New Year's, Graveyard fam. Hope all is well. Mernzies Movie Mansion's in the house. Wild Flick, love this one. I love this one too. There's really no topping Henry. Henry might be the best movie we're talking about tonight, if I'm being honest. In the movie, the classic movie, Peeping Tom, the villain in that movie was revealed to be abused by his parent, and Peeping Tom is an all-time classic. Terrence McGuana's in the Heezy. What's going on, T? Hope all is well with you, buddy. I think two scenes that shook me to my core watching their kills on video, and when Otis attacks his sister and she snaps and attacks her. Yeah, that, to me, the whole psychology of rewatching it is so scary to me. Like that, again, it's nothing, that's no boo. It's something you got to sit and you got to think about psychologically, hence psychological horror done right? It's one thing to murder a whole family and sexually assault them. And I know they were going to go further with it, right? I know that initially they wanted to have him like molest the mother after snapping her neck, and then McNaughton said, no, let's not go there, which again, it's smart. It's still scary. You never had to go there. Sometimes you got to know when to cross the line and when to not. And it's a fine line, but I think McNaughton just treaded it perfectly here. But to me, the scariest thing about that scene is not the murders. It's the sick fuck sitting on the couch going, rewind that. I want to see it again when I snap her neck in front of her. The psychology of that is truly more horrifying than anything they could have done to the family to me. Like that's horror done right to me, man. The MPA was so bad. They really were. And this, unfortunately, was sort of a victim of it. I guess you could always make the argument, would this film ever be that commercial? Would this film ever set the world on fire? Probably not. Right? Especially in the 1980s, especially in 1986. That's a horrible time for this movie to come out in a big theatrical run, in my opinion, right? And it did. Like I said, it was midnight movies only in Chicago or New York. If you didn't live in one of those two cities, and if it wasn't midnight, you weren't seeing Henry at all. But what I do think is that word of mouth helped it. And then when it finally did get its release, it kind of garnered that cult following where, holy shit, this is a really good movie. And of course you have a Michael Rooker who, even by that point, by the early 90s, going on to like the mid 90s, he'd be in like movies like Mallrats, which I love, and The Stank Palm. I always love him in that movie. Weirdly, Siskel and Ebert both loved Henry, and they were huge reason why it eventually did get a run, which is something people don't really realize. They hated Friday the 13th. They hated it. They even went to the point of, here's Betsy Palmer's address. Write to her how much you hate this movie and how much she should be disgraced. They went too far with their hate for certain things. But they really did put this movie over because I think they saw it. And I think they saw the genius in it. And I think they saw how well it was made. And they also saw that, listen, they didn't like the dead teenager movies, as they call them, with the Friday the 13th and Elm Street and sleepaway camps and all that. They didn't like any of that. But I think they saw how well this was made and how psychologically scary and disturbing and traumatic that this movie was. And I think that that's a reason why they put it over. They really helped it, whether, you agree with Siskel or Ebert or not, with some of their stances on horror movies. Gene Siskel always pissed. Everything's against women. It's all fuck Gene. I don't like Gene Siskel. Fuck you. Sorry. Fucking, I couldn't stand him. Brittany Ward's in the house. Hey, Graveyardy, never seen Henry, but it's free on Tubi. Might watch. I love detective movies about catching serial killers, especially when they delve into the psychological aspect. Well, happy New Year, my friend. That's not this type of movie. It's really not about detectives. You're really pretty much with Henry from beginning to end. He's the lead. And similar vein to the movie we'll talk about next, Monster, we're with the monster. We're with Eileen Wuornos, Charlize Theron, from the beginning to the end. 7 is definitely of these three the one where we're not with the killer the whole time, right? But 7 was a movie I really have never discussed on here, so I really did kind of want to get into that one tonight. Speaking of which, Miss C, the movie came out the same year of the most incredible family movies, The Adventures of Milo and Otis, which I loved as a kid, which unfortunately I have heard there was animal cruelty on that set. And if that is the case, I will not watch that movie anymore, because that's if that is true, and I don't know if that was true, I wasn't there, obviously, but that is what I've heard, of course. And I loved Milo and Otis as a kid. They are nothing compared to the BBFC here in the UK. They use scissors for everything. That is absolutely right. Hence the infamous Video Nasties list, which I've always been such a nerd about and watched all the documentaries that there fucking are on that stuff. So yeah, you're right. The BBFC it's literally night and day difference. Love 7, Murder by Numbers, Taking Lives, Bone Collector, Kiss the Girls, etc. The older ones are awesome. Kiss the Girls. That's a fucking holy shit. I have not thought about that movie in a long time. I saw it once, and I really remember liking Kiss the Girls. I got to see that again, man. Kiss the Girls. That is a throwback. We got Paul. I'm going to say Paul P. I can't pronounce your last name. I'm sorry. I don't want to completely botch that. Paul P. in the hazy. Michael Rooker was terrifying as Henry. Dude, I completely freaking agree with you. Hey, Britt, Henry and Henry 2 is also available on Peacock. Okay. We got Alpha Romero in the house. Grande. Alpha, happy New Year, buddy. I have always been put off from watching Henry. It looked too disturbing for me. That's understandable. It really is. I mean, hey, everybody has their own limit and everyone has their own line. And Henry is a movie where I could see that being too far for people. Now, is there ones that disturb me more? Sure. But I don't know if there's ones that disturb me more that are made as good as this. I would say that. Like Angst is a German film. That fucked me. I mean, I can't watch Angst. That's how fucked up Angst is to me. Like, I can't watch that movie. The scene where he's eating the fucking Wiener Schnitzel at the diner. Dude, that makes me want to fucking gag and throw up. Like, that is the sickest fucking scene, man. Oh, God. That, literally thinking about it makes my skin crawl. So there are movies that are even the line for me. Like, I liked Angst. It's a good movie, but it's so effective in what it's done. It's like, okay, I don't want to rewatch this. Henry is not that way. I can rewatch Henry whenever. Love this movie, but I can't say I enjoy watching it. That's exactly what I'm pretty much saying. Yeah, it's like Angst is a good movie, but it's hard to really, but Henry in that vein, I totally get that for sure. I do think it has moments where it's not as down. Like there's the scene where they're all dancing with the camcorder and they play that song Psycho. I liked that. Like I said, the beauty parlor line and the fuck the bears, all that stuff is fun. But yeah, there's not much fun otherwise. Maniac was Henry in the 1980s. That film was almost banned by the public. Yes, this and Maniac do have similarities. However, I would say Maniac is more of a slasher film, whereas this is more of a psychological horror film, in my opinion. Like there's slashing in both, but I think Maniac is much more, whoa, what's going to happen to Tom Savini's head in that? Whoa, what's going to happen to this lady? We don't get enough, in my opinion, of Joe Spinell and the whole thing with the mom. Like in this, we get full-on conversations of like, tell me how fucked up your childhood was. I wish Maniac had a little bit more of that. And even to another degree would be a movie like Don't Go in the House. That's another one where, again, a lot of people label it slasher. I see that as psychological horror movie. It's very much more about this deep, disturbing thing that happened to this man and his relationship with his past mother. Really good stuff. All those movies I mentioned. Hola Grande. Hey, Happy New Year to everyone. Texas THC 1965 in the hazy. What's going on, Texas? I think only the rawness of Man Bites Dog in the 1990s comes close. Hey, Mrs. C. Yeah, no, Man Bites Dog is a great movie. That's another one that I actually neglected to mention. That's a damn good movie. So totally hear that. That TV scene is crazy. Great movie. Completely agree. Fuck the Bears. The poor fucking Bears. The Bears have lost like 11 fucking games in a row. And I swear it's because I bet them this year. I bet they're over. Me and my buddy, we were like, let's take a different team this year. We bet the Steelers every year. Should have bet the Steelers. We took the Bears. They started off 4-2. We were like, dog, we need like 5 wins. We're chilling. They have lost 11 fucking games in a row. So I'm with the quote, fuck the Bears. Or Angst from Germany. Yes, absolutely. Dr. Howdy 666. My brother. I'm at work, but I had to see a little of the Henry conversation. Dude, thank you so much for checking out the show, even on your work hours. One of the best exploitation serial killer flicks ever. Watch Golden Gloves if you like Henry. Dude, Golden Glove is another really great one. That one, again, I could see being the line for some people, though. Like, Golden Glove is some fucked up shit, man. I remember back in the day, Corey reviewed that, and like that was the review that got me to watch the movie, and I just immediately was like, wow, like really, really good stuff. But yeah, I know Will loves this movie. So Dr. Howdy, I'm glad that you're here, buddy. People saying hi. Hey, buddy, how are you doing? By the way, saw Nosferatu. Happy New Year. That mustache was funny. Anthony Chovat does pop cultures and openings. We will do my review for Nosferatu in a few weeks here when we do the vampire special. I've decided I was originally going to do all 3 Nosferatus. I'm deciding we're going to do the new Nosferatu. And I want to do 2 like other vampire movies. I don't want to just do Nosferatu. I think that's a little bit redundant. So I think maybe we'll do I'll throw 2 other ones in there. So we'll definitely shake it up with that. Get to work, Dr. Howdy. If there is time to lean, there is time to clean. It's amazing. People saying hi. John McNaughton did that on purpose for a fuck you to the audience, like he is watching his exploits and you're doing the same thing. Exactly. Yes, that's a total exactly why he was doing it. And it works. It's really, truly effective. Texas, Happy New Year. Hope all is well. People saying thanks. I agree. The psychological aspect is what really grabs me, like what makes someone to be this sick and scary and they enjoy it. Yeah, exactly. It's the whole, to me, the thrill or the high off of it. That's the most scary thing about it. Like I always point to Cannibal Holocaust. Like to me, like everyone will mention Cannibal. Oh, what they did to the ferret, what they did to the turtle, what they did to the woman with the stone. We all point fingers with that particular movie and what disturbs us there. To me, again, there is no more disturbing scene in that movie than when they see the woman impaled on the pole. It's an amazing effect. It's amazing stuff, but not even the visual. It's Alan's reaction. It's his smile of, look at the footage I'm getting. Look how the clickbait, how many people are going to want to see this just from this one sick thing. And then the overly joyed face becomes a look of over concern. Oh, good Lord. This is horrible. I can't believe they do this. That's the scariest thing about it. It's that sick New York City film prep, right? That joins the Green Inferno, burns down their hobo huts and have sex in the ashes and then smile about it and get off on it. I mean, that to me is the psychology of a fucking psychopath. Another good film that's based off a real serial killer is Zodiac. Zodiac, I remember liking, but it's far too long. Like I've never rewatched Zodiac. Monster was so good. Well, Monster's up next. Brittany watched Manhunter. Manhunter's awesome. I agree on Zodiac. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Zodiac by Fincher is the most gut-wrenching serial killer film. Okay, so big fans of Zodiac and the Hazy. Manhunter, I'm going to look it up now. What's up, Dr. Howdy? Okay. Speaking of which, Dominic, in the 1970s movie Dirty Harry, the villain Scorpio was inspired by the Zodiac Killer. You'll love it, one of my faves. We got Bradazzle in the house with an awesome Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That is an awesome freaking pro pick. So hello, Bradazzle. Happy New Year. I'm scared now. Yeah, no. Brittany, it's funny. Brittany told me, she's like, when William suggests a film, you know that it's going to be crazy. She said that to me. I was like, yeah, that's true. Henry is the one that I'm really glad I didn't see as a kid. I saw it pretty young. I don't know when I saw it, but I was definitely young. Like, it was definitely when I was experimenting more with like exploitation. Would have been early high school, definitely. It would have been probably around the time AJ saw it. Like, AJ, I think, saw it like 10th, 11th grade. I would have been around there when I saw it. It fucked me up. Like, it, I remember this and I Spit on Your Grave really disturbing me. Like, those were two where I was like, holy cow, like, this is just crazy. Slasher Fred's so true. There's a film titled Zodiac Killer in the early 70s. Love Henry, says Mateo. Rooker was great in Tombstone, but a disaster in Days of Thunder. Overall, great actor for me. American Psycho, best serial killer movie. That's a fucking great pick, too. That's actually that's a tough one to defeat. I don't know. I'm really leaning towards Henry being my favorite. I don't know why, but I would say, gun to my head right now, I would say Henry. Dude, I can't do it. I can watch somebody get their skin peeled off in Martyrs. I can't watch that fucking guy. I can't do it. I will never do it again. It's like, that is nightmare fuel to me. Sup, Grande. We got Coast Face Brett in the house. Happy New Year. I liked Maniac. It was so dirty and eerie, but I couldn't look away. The Stepfather in 1987 is a good serial killer thriller. Absolutely. I thought you liked that sausage scenes, Merns. Love The Stepfather. Watch Golden Glove. You might need a shower afterwards. Absolutely. I got a Golden Glove for you, AJ. I've seen the documentary on the Iceman, Merns, who he just died. I think he just died in real life. And what people don't know about him, which obviously me being the fucking mark that I am, I know this. The character of Stone Cold Steve Austin was based off of that killer. Where they watched the documentary, he and his wife watched it, and she said, hey, you better drink your tea before it gets stone cold. And that's where Iceman, he got the name Stone Cold Steve Austin. And that's why he's Stone Cold Steve Austin, was because of that serial killer. I don't know how many people know that, but that's the true story of how he got the name of Stone Cold Steve Austin. But I've seen documentaries. I've never seen, I'm assuming you're meaning they made an actual like feature-length film on him. I've never seen the film, if that's the case. And I would be totally curious to see it, though, for sure. I don't know if you could tell me who plays the lead. That would be the most like interesting thing. To me, it's like a lot of these movies are based off how good this killer is portrayed. Like, how good is their performance, right? And you know, Henry is one of those movies where you get that. And of course, that's a perfect segue and transition into the movie we'll be talking about next. When you want to talk about great performances, when you want to talk about a performance that not only defined a career, but in my opinion, is one of the greatest all-time performances and a true transformation role for this particular actress, someone who I always thought was just beautiful and, you know, like just absolutely gorgeous. There's no doubt. And still is. I mean, still is, even in her I think she's got to be pushing 50. And I'm talking to you guys, of course, about Charlize Theron. I'm talking to you about this movie she did in 2003. I'm talking about Monster. Yes, Monster from the year 2003. Brief plot synopsis. The true story of serial killer Eileen Wuornos, who in 1989, she was working as a prostitute and finally makes a friend when she meets and begins a relationship with a young woman, Selby. Determined to straighten her life out, she tries to find legitimate work, but with little education and limited social skills. She fails at every single turn until she returns to her hooking job with deadly consequences. Yes, Monster. Wow. This is another movie I could remember. I saw this super young, for sure. This is one of the movies they showed on Lifetime, like when I was way too young, but this came on, and I remember being like, that I thought at the time it was a Lifetime. I was like, man, Lifetime doesn't usually make movies that good. But of course, this was a theatrical movie. This was directed by, of course, Patty Jenkins, who it took her a very long time to get back into the directing scene when she would go on to do Wonder Woman in like the mid 2010s. There was that long of a layoff there. But of course, she directs this film right here starring Charlize Theron, which she won the actress for best leading actress in the Oscars. And of course, joined on her other side here by Christina Ricci, who I've always had the biggest fucking crush on. Like, Christina Ricci is like, I mean, as a young kid, that's one of the first women I ever noticed. And they both really do a great job, to me, right off the bat, of transforming themselves. Charlize Theron, sex symbol, icon. You'll see her on these Dove soap commercials or whatever the fuck, just walking and lights flashing, playing, just this beautiful blonde with legs that go on forever. And Christina Ricci, who I literally just grew up having the biggest fucking crush on. Like when I was a kid, I want to marry Christina Ricci. Like that's how much I was a fan, right? Loved her. They both transform themselves here. Of course, Ricci into like a very more, I don't know how to, like butchy lesbian type look, of course, with the kind of mullet hair, like Ralph Cifaretto from the fucking Sopranos, that type of hairdo. And then, of course, Charlize Theron would shave her fucking eyebrows. She didn't really shower, and she becomes this fucking monster before your very eyes. You know, this beautiful woman that was able to try to make her appearance look so undesirable that we don't truly see Charlize Theron. We see Eileen Wuornos, we see a monster. And I think that's like off the bat, the most important thing about this movie was their transformation, the two of them. And I give Ricci just as much credit. She does a great job. Of course, we are introduced to Eileen Wuornos and we hear about her childhood and how she wanted to be a big movie star and how that she wanted to be known and noticed for being beautiful or famous or an actress, something to be known forever, right? In the masses of family homes and things like that. And of course, none of those things happen. She gets treated like shit by men her whole life. Her father molests her at points, and we hear these stories that the mother didn't believe it, and then of course she started beating her. And you hear a lot of the repressed childhood stuff that really is heartbreaking in this particular film. And I thought they did a very interesting job at kind of balancing the lines, right? Whereas with Henry, we never really see, other than a couple of instances of him being like, "Oh, you could take my room. I'll sleep on the couch." We never see the instances of sympathy, at least to me. I never see it. Even though you hear the horrible tragic backstory here, I think they do want you to see half sympathy, half this was a psychopathic killer, right? And she's this hooker. She goes around having sex with men for money. She's not the smartest woman in the world. Like the way she speaks is very illiterate. Hey, man. Can I have some sandwich, man? Like she's a lot of everything ends with man. And she's really, it's fucking to the point where I'm like, Jesus Christ, like she nailed this. Like fucking people like that are just like this. It's fucking scary how on the nose she was to me. And of course, she meets and befriends Christina Ricci's character one night at a bar, and she tells her, "I'm no dyke, I'm no lesbian, stay away from me, I don't want any part of you." And Christina Ricci's like, "I'm just trying to get out, like I'm just trying to make friends, and I figured we'd talk, and like Christina Ricci's just trying to find her place in the world until this one kind of magical night where they go out to the roller skating rink and they have this kind of romantic night where, they kiss, they embrace, and for the first time in both their lives, and I think a lot of people miss this, first time in both their lives, they're with somebody else that truly does care and love for them. And, they're not being put down by either Selby's parents, Christina Ricci's parents don't accept her being gay. And then, of course, Charlize Theron, who's been treated like shit by every man she's ever encountered, of course, including the ones that, she's clientele of. It's nice to see them have that moment. And then one night she goes out for a hooking job, and this guy is a fucking psychopath, played by Lee Tegerson, who goes to like beat the hell out of her, and then he puts a gun to her head, and then basically she kind of counters it, shoots the hell out of the guy. And it's from that scene on where she starts losing her mind, and she starts to kill every client that she gets based off this one past bad experience with this guy who's going to try to molest her. It's really powerful, that kind of turn where she goes from, down on her luck, kind of whatever, and to this fucking monster that we see. And she has these great monologues throughout the film. And the one that I always love where when she's talking about the Ferris wheel when she was a kid, right? She says, "Life is funny. It's hard, but it's also strange how things can be so different than you think." I remember when I was just a kid and before age clubs, set up this beautiful, gigantic red and yellow Ferris wheel, and it lit up the night sky like a monster. I like that. I always thought that was such a beautiful monologue, like when she's discussing that stuff. I thought she just did a really good job at kind of selling that. Like, here's one past experience where it wasn't that bad. It wasn't all these horrible things. But then, it goes on into she's killing more and more. And then there's a point where she tries to get out of it, where she's trying to, oh, I'll become a secretary. So there's this great like kind of montage where she's going to place to place to place and getting rejected. And the guy's like, oh, get this lady, Leslie, get this lady out of here. Well, fuck you, because you think you went to college. You think you're better than me. Fuck you and your papers. A monkey could do that. And then she's walking out and she tells the secretary, go, fuck you, Leslie. Like, that's the line of the movie, and apparently that was all improv by Charlize Theron. Like, she did a really, really good job, I thought, in that scene, just really, like, kind of selling it. And then, of course, as the movie goes on, it escalates more and more until there's no escaping this now. Like, she's going to get caught, and Christina Ricci is so heartbroken and distressed by this. Like, just don't, like, stop doing what you're doing. You stay with me, you know? And of course, these things don't work out in the end. And the police, actually, one of the cops that arrests her is Kane Hodder, who's funny enough. I was like, holy shit, that's got to be Kane. You know, you're like, holy shit. Weird, but yeah, they arrest her in this bar at the end, and then of course you have this really emotional kind of final scene between her and her lover, where she tells Christina Ricci on the phone, like, I'll tell him it was all me, because it was all me. Like, you knew what was going on, but you loved me and wanted to stay with me. And they have this really emotional scene on the phone where Christina Ricci's crying, and you see as the director, Patty Jenkins, she pans out and you see all the police are in the room and they're like recording the call to put her away. And then eventually they do kill her by lethal injection. And the movie kind of fades to an end there. I mean, it's really well done. Patty Jenkins did a great job. I wish she had made more films. I thought she did a really good job of telling this story. And the fact that it's not all black and white. There's a lot of gray area in this film. And I think that's another thing that a lot of serial killer films miss, is the gray area in this film. What do I mean by that? The whole idea of, okay, this one guy was terrible, tried to rape her. We see other clients that go to have sex with her, and one of them is, I've never done this before. I'm scared. I'm nervous. She kills him. There's one guy, she goes, you're married, you fucking pig. And she shoots the guy dead. And then she's going like robbing his wallet, and she sees that his wife was like a paraplegic. So obviously you get the idea that he wasn't getting much at home. Therefore he was just looking to, you know, get his candle waxed, if you will. I don't know how to say that any more politically correct, but that's kind of what he was looking to do. You see that other side. Usually it's just, oh, these guys are all scumbags, you know. What fucking Christian saint guy is going to pick up a fucking prostitute? They don't make it the whole thing where all these guys are scum. Like, no, like, these are people too. And I thought that was really smart to have that in there. I really like this movie. I'm curious to think what you guys, or see what you guys think in the chat though. Oh God, where the fuck were we? I think we were here. Not a film, but Dexter's show. Oh, Dexter's great. Dexter's really good. And I know they're doing like a prequel now to Dexter, which is honestly odd in my opinion. I don't know if I have much interest in that, but I really like the show. Michael Shannon plays the Iceman. I've got to see that. I'm a big fan of Michael Shannon. I know he's a weird guy in real life, but he's a really good actor. So I've got to see that. Her performance in this movie is like, wow, I read the book too. I didn't know there even was a book. I didn't even know that. Yeah, she's great. Like, to me, to transform yourself to one of Hollywood's most beautiful fucking women and truly make me terrified by your appearance. She does like the Mia Goth thing where her eyebrows are just gone and she's just unhinged in this, man. She does a really good job. There was also 80s movie called Iceman, which was a sci-fi movie about the prehistoric man who is frozen in ice. Yes, a little bit different than the serial killer movies we're discussing, but hey, maybe it's all in the same family. The transformation is Bale-worthy. Machinist, American Hustle. Of course, Machinist, he like starved himself, right? And then American Hustle's the opposite. He's a fat fuck with like no hair. The amazing performance made the movie. The direction is pathetic. With a good director, this movie could have been a masterpiece. Okay, that's interesting. I mean, I don't think Patty Jenkins does a bad job here. Now, okay, was she a prolific director at this time? I mean, this was her first film. You know, so obviously I guess I can give a lot of leeway to someone who's directing their first film, and you do get nominated for an Academy Award. But with that said, Mateo, you're probably right on the nose, because this movie wasn't nominated for anything else. Didn't get nominated for a screenplay, didn't get nominated for a best picture, didn't get nominated for a score or anything else. It was nominated and won for her performance. So she's really the reason to watch this movie. There's no doubt. But I will say that I don't think that Patty Jenkins I wouldn't say pathetic. I think that's, you know, it's definitely a hot take. I don't know. I didn't think it was that bad, but I know what you mean. I definitely could have been directed better by a veteran. Absolutely. But I do think that it was a good thing to get a female perspective on the direction here because, again, I don't know how black and white it would have been more black and white. Whereas this, I think the whole movie is very gray area. And I think that Patty Jenkins is a big reason for that. I think she did an okay job. I would have to I know what you mean, but I slightly disagree. Selby as a character, I found extremely annoying. I just wanted to yell, quit being whiny ass. It's a wonder Eileen didn't slap and kill her. Oh my God. I mean, I like Christina. You leave Christina Ricci alone. God damn it. Her damn forehead's so big. I love Christina Ricci. Don't you be mean to my woman. Oh yeah, saw this movie way too young. Felt bad for that old dude she kills. Most had it coming though. Yeah, no, and speaking of old, Bruce Dern is in this movie as like the one guy ever that treats her okay. And he's like barely in it, but I always liked him in them. I was like, why the hell is Bruce Dern not in it more? Like, I like him. Have you ever watched the movie from, I'm sorry, have you ever watched that movie called From Hell? It is one of those movies which had tried the biography of London's most infamous killers of all time, Jack the Ripper. There's a lot of Jack the Ripper's movies. I've never seen From Hell, but I've seen quite a few Jack the Ripper movies. None of them really impressed that much. Fucking, for some reason, Jack's Back is one that I don't know why it popped in my head, but it did. Seriously, though, I actually had quite a bit of sympathy for Eileen. Is she a monster or a victim? I think it was a mix of both. Exactly. Again, a lot of movies like this, it's generally the ultimate black and white, whereas this character, I felt a lot of gray. And I liked that. And I thought she played it that way too. Like, she's crying at points, but also she was a constant liar. Like, she's lying from the word go about everything. So I don't know how much of a martyr she really was. The scene of the two women on the phone when Ricci was setting Charlize up with the cops and she knew it, but confessed anyway because she didn't want to go to jail. It was because, again, fucking gray area, right? We're going right back to that. Well, you have on one hand, I love this person. I don't want to sell them out, but if it means my ass going to jail, that's what I have to do. And it's like, it's so heartbreaking because they did care and love for each other. But at the end of the day, to avoid time, to avoid lethal execution, yeah, I mean, it sucks, but you have to do what you have to do. UB is in the house. Uncle Bill, what's up, buddy? Happy New Year. Van Beber's Manson Family is one of my favorites. The Deliberate Stranger with Mark. Oh, dude. Jim Van Beber is an incredibly underrated director, and I agree. That's Manson Family is an incredible movie. And again, it's very fucking raw and it's very low budget, but it's so fucking well done, man. That's a really good pick. I haven't thought of that movie in a long time, but that's a really good pick. People saying hi, doing well, happy New Year, awesome. Chris C, the slasher dude's in the house. Evening savages only on the graveyard. A lot of people saying hi. Funny these actors and actresses win for portrayals for actual people. Sure. I'm not being mean to Rocco. I'm being mean to Selby, the character. The Rocco. Hey, Rocco. Christina Ricci. We have Crystal in the house, a classic. Happy New Year, Crystal. From Hell is based off the graphic novel by Alan Moore. Okay. Ricci, you're fine. You're fine. Grande, give Grande a poster of Christina Ricci. Dude, yes, dude. The Buffy the Vampire Slayer or Daphne, Sarah Michelle Gellar, and then Christina Ricci. Jesus, what is Christina Ricci's like? I'm trying to think, like, the movie I felt she looked best in. It's weird though, because I liked her when I was a kid. As a kid, I had I saw her in some like Casper, and I was really young when that came out. I wasn't even alive, I don't think, when Casper came out. So that's the shit. I don't know, just the big childhood crush. I don't know what is Christina. That's a question for the chat. Does Christina Ricci have a sexiest movie role? Can we talk about that? I lose all my viewers. One of the most classic Jack the Ripper movies is the sci-fi classic Time After Time, where it mixes the original Time Machine. Okay. This movie is so well done to me. It felt real life versus too overdone. I enjoyed it. Eileen felt human, and I liked that. I would agree with that. The Deliberate Stranger is a great one of Harmon's greatest roles. I'm not seeing The Deliberate Strangers, but I like Mark Harmon a lot from the NCIS show, so I would always be down to see that. So that's another one to the list I'll have to watch. Happy New Year to you too. So Monster, I think it's a really good movie. It's really fantastic. Poster of Jessica Alba or Salma Hayek, put both in a horror movie. Well, I mean, Salma Hayek is from Dusk Till Dawn. That's probably her most infamous sexy role. Jessica Alba in Sin City is amazing. Jessica Alba in Fantastic Four is amazing. Jessica Alba in Good Luck Chuck is amazing. We'll be talking about Jessica Alba next week on Grande's River, where we review Idle Hands. So if you like Jessica Alba, we'll leave it up to Donovan Alba, right? Because Donovan Alba, we all know that's your just your big hot sister, Jessica Alba. Black Snake. Oh my fucking God. Yes. Merns, the next time we hang out, the next time we hang out, you son of a bitch from Canada, I'm going to stroll right in to Toronto. I'm going to check into the SmackDown Hotel. I'm going to stroll on to room 316, and I'm going to Black Snake Moan burn that son of a bitch to the ground. Yes, Paul Mearns, that's what we're doing next time. We're watching Black Snake Moan till dawn, and we're going to see Justin Timberlake get his candy ass beaten by Samuel L. OMG, I love Black Snake Moan. Black Snake Moan is fucking great. I love that fucking movie. And Mearns is right. That is by a mile her sexiest role. Like the fucking scene where the kid, he's like a young like preacher boy or something. Like he comes to the door and she just starts sucking him off. I remember the first time I saw it, I was like, wow. Like it was the first time I heard the Beatles. Yes, great movie. Justin is in the house. Happy New Year, Justin. Kane Hunter plays a cop. I mentioned that. I did mention that. We do see Jason. Let's see. We should all watch it as a group. So good. We should all hold hands and watch Black Snake Moan. We should all like hand the guitar around and play songs. If you ever watched that TV series Medium with Patricia Arquette, there was an episode called Who's That Girl? During the opening prologue, they mentioned Eileen. Do they really? Okay, I've seen the show, but it's been a long time. We have acres of movies. Hello, lovely man. Thank you so much. Happy New Year to you, my friend. Monsters, great. I didn't rate Henry's a 10. Monsters, like, I would say 7.5, 8 category. Really good movie as well. I really like Monster. Which ultimately brings us to the last movie of the evening we'll be discussing here tonight on Grande's Graveyard. And this, of the three, is easily the most remembered. It's probably the movie that, and it's funny, this movie celebrates its 30th anniversary this year. This movie celebrates, I believe it's going to be playing in theaters soon. Like it literally could be tomorrow. I don't know, but I know this movie's getting another couple nights in the theater because of obviously its reputation. It's a movie, of course, directed by David Fincher, who was coming off his directorial debut in Alien 3, which was a huge bomb, and he hated working with 20th Century Fox and all of these things, had a big problem working with that. But he rebounded in a big way in a movie that made a lot of noise and what a lot of people would probably consider to be the absolute best serial killer movie of all time. And I'm talking about this movie from 1995. This is Seven. Yes, Seven from 1995. Brief plot synopsis. 2 police detectives, one Somerset, about to retire, and the other Mills, just transfer into the precinct, investigate the murder of an obese man. On his wall was written the word gluttony. Then they are alerted to the murder of a lawyer. On his floor was written the word greed. Somerset suspects that the murders were the work of the same man, a man murdering people that have committed the 7 deadly sins. Wow. This is a movie that 30 years later, I mean, it's still, somebody at the beginning of this said, what's in the box? And we all know what you're talking about. That's this movie's reputation. That's this movie's legacy. We all still mention this movie, and it's all kind of still relevant in popular culture. 30 years later, we're 30 years now. It's crazy. But I still think this is a great film. And of course, that starts with the direction of David Fincher, who, again, was disgruntled, was angry, and I think in a way hungry, right? Alien 3, I'm sure he wanted it to be just as good as Alien and Aliens. It's, obviously isn't that type of movie. It falls flat, and it's just studio meddled into it a lot. There's a lot of problems with Alien 3. Whether you like it or not, there's no denying the problems that it had. And then, of course, to rebound here and make this movie that's kind of like neo-noir in some ways. It's, of course, a mystery, thriller, a cop drama, horror film. It has a lot of different things going for it. It's a very grand film. And then, of course, you have your 2 lead actors here, Morgan Freeman and Brad Pitt, who just play off each other so well. Of course, Mills and Somerset. They just do a great job. Now, before we get into this, I wanted to mention who the initial picks for the Brad Pitt role was. The initial pick for Brad Pitt's role was Denzel fucking Washington. And in another world, I mean, I want to see this movie with Denzel as the Brad Pitt role. That would have been so flippin' cool, man. Like, imagine, and this would have been Denzel coming off movies like Philadelphia. Like, oh my God, I would kill to see Denzel Washington play this role. Like, in an alternate world, I want to see that. Denzel said it was too dark. He passes. The next guy they offered the role, you're never going to fucking believe me, but I'm going to tell you right now. Hey, yo, it's me, Sylvester Stallone. Fucking Sylvester Stallone was their second choice, and they wanted him to do it. Now, this is around the time where Stallone hit a wall with Stop or My Mother Will Shoot and movies like that. And, of course, this was a year before Daylight, which, again, isn't the great. I love Copland, but, again, that's neither here nor there. They wanted Stallone, and Stallone passed on it and said, this is too dark for me. Third choice was the charm, and Brad Pitt was cast in the role. And I love how he plays off Morgan Freeman. I think the two of them do just such a great job together. Of course, you have two guys on the opposite side of the coin in their careers, right? You have the young up-and-comer with a beautiful wife and played by Gwyneth Paltrow at home. No, she's not selling those pussy-scented candles yet. Here, she was the normal, likable Gwyneth Paltrow before she lost her fucking mind. Just a couple years pre-Shallow Hal. That's the Gwyneth Paltrow we're dealing with here. Just everything seems good. He's moving to the city. He doesn't like the city. And then, of course, you have Morgan Freeman, who plays Somerset, who's this kind of old veteran who's been around the block more times than he can count. And in 7 days, he will retire. In 7 days, he'll step off the force and go into retirement. He has no loved one at home. He's a solo act. And, that's kind of the way he seems to like it. And it's throughout this movie where they go from crime scene to crime scene, from murder to murder, where we see people that were killed for committing one of the 7 deadly sins, right? We see the fat guy and the gluttony, and he was eaten and he was forced to eat until his stomach burst. We have the one lawyer character. We have the guy that was a drug dealing child molester that they didn't kill him, but of course he's like a fucking next, whatever the step above a corpse is, he's that by the time they find him in a really disturbing scene. We go from crime scene to crime scene seeing this stuff, and it really has a lasting image in your brain, right? Again, this is not an overt horror film, but I do think the elements of horror in there make it memorable. And that's what every horror film wants to be at the end of the day, is as memorable as a movie like this. We get very interesting conversations between Pitt and Freeman, respectively, where they're talking about life. They're talking about the city. They're talking about, hey, why did you never get married? And just a lot of really good back and forth between these two guys. And I thought that Pitt, obviously he was up and coming and he was about to take off. And Freeman has just always been such a solid fucking actor, man. So I liked them together. They have the great scene where they're, they go over to Gwyneth Paltrow and they're having dinner together and just making small talk, things like that. Really good. But to me, while I do love a lot of this movie, and I do think Fincher does a great job directing, right? I know, Mateo was saying that Patty Jenkins wasn't the best directing choice for a movie like Monster. In this particular movie, I don't think anyone but David Fincher could have directed it. I mean, David Fincher just does an excellent job. You can feel very neo-noir in some scenes, the way shadows over people's faces are done, the gritty, grimy feel that you have when you walk upon one of these murder scenes. They're all so dirty and grimy. That's the perfect word, is grimy. It's like this dark green scented room. It's just really visually disturbing to see. And I would dare to say that Saw was a big, big movie that took a lot of influence from this. Like the look of Saw, like the production designs of the rooms and the murder sequences and the torture rooms. It's like very similar to what you see in this movie right here. It's very influential, I think, in that regard. But what sets this movie apart and what makes this a classic, what makes this an all-time great movie, it sucks to say it because the guy in real life is not a good guy. He's a piece of shit. But there's no denying how great the performance is by Kevin Spacey. I mean, Kevin Spacey, this is his best role to me, as John Doe, the serial killer who cuts off the fingertips of his hands and goes on these interesting monologues at the end. I mean, that's, I think, the thing that escalates this movie above and beyond. Would it have been still a great movie? If you had somebody else, maybe, absolutely. But I think he elevates it to another level. And they're having all these really interesting conversations in the end in the car, right? And they're talking about a woman so ugly on the inside she couldn't bear to go on living if she couldn't be beautiful on the outside. A drug dealer, a drug dealing pederast, actually. And let's not forget the disease spreading whore. Only in a world like this shitty world could you ever see and say these were innocent people and keep a straight face. But that's the point. We see a deadly sin on every street corner, every home, and we tolerate it. We tolerate it because it's common. It's trivial. We tolerate it morning, noon, night. Like his whole spiel with that, I thought was so interesting. Like it's like he has a fucking point. And you don't want to agree with somebody like that. He's a sick fuck. But you hear what he's saying again. So I always liked the arguments back and forth that they're having. And then, of course, it all culminates to this big finale where they're out in the desert and there's a delivery and what's in the box? What's in the box? And to me, for a studio, for a big mainstream theatrical movie with Brad Pitt, shiny teeth and all, and Morgan Freeman, all these respected actors, to have an ending like that, to go Lamberto Bava Macabre. Mateo, I know you'll get that. I don't know if anyone else will get that. But if you see Macabre, you know the ending of that movie. Talk about some good head. I digress. To have that ending and Gwyneth Paltrow's fucking head and bloody hair being in the box and the whole kill me and it's over, kill me and I win. John Doe has the upper hand. Shoots him dead there. I mean, that's the only way you could really end this movie. And it's what everyone remembers from Seven. 30 years later, that's what we all remember is what was in that box. And for a Hollywood movie to go there, right, to go something sick, twisted, and disturbing as that, I always was like, hats off. That's not something you're going to see in a lot of mainstream movies. And they went there, which I really liked. I thought was really well done. I don't know. I think Seven's a classic. I really do. Seven's a great movie. I really don't have any faults with it. But I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say. So let's go to comments. Let's hear what you got to say. I think we were. I have no idea where the fuck we were. I think maybe here. Captain Skittles in the house. On another cool pro pick. This movie I haven't gotten the chance to see, but I remember the villain John Doe. Highly recommend you see it. I do think it's playing in theaters soon. So if you want to look that up and anyone wants to dedicate me, please do. Night Game with Roy Schreider. I love Roy Schreider. Seven feels like it was the first serious buddy cop where most previous movies were always comedic and like, imagine the Die Hard with it, like fucking the same movie, but with Danny Glover and Mel Gibson. That would be hysterical. This movie is so good and twisted. Totally agree. Seven was a big replay for me back in the Laserdisc days. Oh, wow. That's awesome. That's one thing I'm jealous of, like the older generation, that I've never even like seen a laser disc in person. I've seen them in videos. I've never held a laser. Like that was way before my fucking time. So it's I always get jealous when I see people tell me how heavy they were. I'm like, I'm jealous, man. Oh yeah, it stands the test of time. One of the best, man. Completely agree. I mean, this is John Doe for me, top 10 in movie villains of all time. I can't disagree. It's again, how long is he on screen in this movie? Like if I don't know if anyone's ever timed it out, it can't be more than 10 minutes. Like, and if it is, it's 15 minutes. Like it's not a long time, but the arguments that he has, the fucking sicko that he is, like I love Morgan Freeman says something to him along the lines of like, for someone who says you were chosen, you seem to really enjoy all of this. And he says, it's not like I'm enjoying it more than what Mills would enjoy in a locked room with no windows with me. And it's like, again, it's like, wow, it's a fucking good point. You're absolutely right. The credits in this movie are scrolled down instead of up. That's right. Denzel would have been really cool. I would have been all for that. But Brad Pitt does an amazing job. Kevin Spacey's an amazing actor. This and American Beauty were huge ass flicks when I was a kid. Oh, man, and in American Beauty, that's probably his second best role. I mean, American Beauty is a masterpiece, in my opinion. Sam Mendes does a great job with that movie. That's a movie I studied actually in college. One of the many film classes I took in college was we did dissect that film, and it's just such a fucking great movie. Like to me, it's like it's sad, it's funny, it's sexy, it's all of these different things, man. But American Beauty is just another masterpiece to me. It's a shame, right? Like we now it's like with Kevin Spacey, I don't really go back and rewatch a lot of Kevin Spacey movies, to be honest. Like, I'm just not, and I know he seems to be trying to make a comeback. Like, I know he did the convention, right? The Monster Palooza, I think it was, or something like that. So yeah, he's doing conventions now, which is interesting, but yeah, no, not the greatest fucking guy in real life. American Beauty, great movie. I completely agree. Like, I love it's been a long time since somebody asked me that. I'm great. I love that movie. The American Beauty is one of the best. Stallone was great in Get Carter. That's a good remake. Of course, the original was with James Caan. Is it James Caan? I fucking forget who's in the original. Forgive me if I'm wrong on that. I don't know why I'm thinking James Caan is in Thief with Michael Mann film. Who the fuck is in the original Get Carter? Someone I forget. Pitt seems so phony in this, though. Overall, badass flick. Oh, real? Okay, so you're not a fan of. So would you rather Sly? Hey, yo, Morgan Freeman. Hey, I gotta do. Put Adrian's head in the fucking box. That would have been amazing if Sly was in this fucking movie. Mickey Rooney was the first choice for Somerset. You're fucking kidding. No, that can't be true. You're fucking with me. No way. I read that they were originally going to reveal Tracy's head in the box. Yep. Joe Petto. Where's my Silent Night, Deadly Night 5 fan addicts? I like 7, but I don't love it. I think I like the idea behind it and basing it on the murders on the 7 Deadly Sins, but overall just didn't do much for me. Interesting. I mean, I think it's a great movie. I won't lie to you, but I can understand that. The second choice for Somerset was John Travolta, but because the character wasn't developmentally disabled, he turned it down. Jesus Christ. Oh, my God. Justin, what the fuck, man? That's out of nowhere, just being dark. Darren. Hey, Darren. Dude, good to see you, man. It's been a while. Happy New Year, my friend. What's up, guys? I hope everyone had a great Christmas. Hopefully a good New Year. Dude, right back at you, man. I hope all is well. The dark ones are the best actors. His best role, he has dozens better. I think this is Kevin Spacey's best role. I would say this and American Beauty is 1 and 2. I guess if you're saying for a lead role, maybe American Beauty, and then a side role, this, but I would say this movie is more remembered for him over anything. I would totally love Spacey as Kaiser, but man, K-Pax was bad. Yeah, I mean, he also, wasn't he Lex Luthor in the really, and I will repeat the word really fucking dull, Superman Returns? Is anybody? Oh my God, that movie was so fucking dull. I don't even remember it. Like, it was just and Brandon Routh. Fuck me, man. Fuck. You would think what a perfect fucking Lex Luthor he would be, but the movie was so dull that I don't even care. And he was so cold, calm, and convicted as he was speaking so good. Yeah, no, he owns that role. It's really good. Oh, he doesn't know. Right, that's the whole thing where she was pregnant, and he doesn't know. Like, he gets excited about that. After he shoots John Doe, is Brad Pitt brought up on charges? Yeah, I mean, he's in the back of a cop car at the end, and then they say, we'll take care of him. So I guess it's left up to you, really. The greatest trick the devil ever pulled, Mateo, was convincing the world he didn't exist. Yeah, no, that's a line CM Punk would go on to use in The Independents. I always remember CM Punk throwing out that line. The guy with the knife dildo did an awesome job acting. Dude, that's right. And he, from what I read, like, purposely didn't sleep for days. He didn't eat. He was like profusely fucking sweating. He did everything he could to physically be up for that role. And like he goes, and I fucked her. He's like going crazy. Like that guy's performance is really good. And you see the method acting he took there. If you kill him, he wins. So chilling. Dude, yeah, absolutely. So true. Slasher Fred. I love 7. I mean, I love it. One thing always bugged me: Paltrow and Freeman besties after 4 days. Yeah, they're just like, hey, you want to go to the diner with me? You're the only person I trust. That's totally true. I love it too, though. I think it's a fucking masterpiece. Ever seen Romeo is Bleeding? Gary Oldman, Roy Scheider? I have not. I've not seen that one. Michael Caine. There you go. It was Michael Caine. Thank you. Sorry. I don't know why I was thinking fucking James Caan. Why I was thinking that, I don't know. Yes, it was Michael Caine. Michael Caine in the original Get Carter. Michael Caine. That's awesome. What's up, Tax? Better roles than 7 for Spacey, in my opinion. Beyond the Sea, Albino Alligator, Pay It Forward, Swim with Sharks, See No Evil, Hear No Evil. Usual Suspects is a really good role too. That's a great one there. Beyond the Sea, I saw once. I barely remember it. And the rest of them, I have not seen Albino Alligator. Superman Returns was the 5th installment in the very popular Christopher Reeve series without Christopher Reeve, with Brandon Routh, and they fucking retconned Superman 3 and Superman 4. Like, I don't know. Fuck. Superman Returns a piece of shit. I will never, ever watch that again. That movie sucks. But again, you would think Kevin Spacey would be great in it. 7, it's a fucking great movie too. I would have a really hard time not giving this a 10 as well. Maybe a 9. I don't know. I mean, it's close. It's a 9 or a 10. I'm going to say it's a 10. I think 7, just because of its lasting impact, its legacy, its great acting performances, its rebound from Fincher, who would go on to really, he's used this to catapult himself into a great career, whereas now he's a prolific Hollywood filmmaker. And it's thanks to this movie, right? Because if this movie comes out, this flops, if this doesn't do good, if this is a bad film like Alien 3, he might be directing music videos to this day. Like, this might have been it, right? And then once this movie took off and did really well, Brad Pitt was everywhere, Morgan Freeman's everywhere, Fincher's everywhere. Hell, Gwyneth Paltrow, I think, was nominated for Oscars shortly after this. So this movie really helped in a lot of ways. So was Kevin Spacey. Kevin Spacey was winning Oscars after this. So, I mean, fuck, really wild stuff. Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil, Casino Jack, Ordinary Decent Criminal, 9 out of 10. Okay. Thanks. Thank you. Zodiac is a very good absolutely. Yeah. When we mentioned Zodiac before, that's right. So it's a little early. If anyone wants to keep talking, I guess we could. I'd go another 15, 20 minutes if people want to talk. If not, no pressure. In the meantime, I guess I'll preview next week's show. And maybe we can do that. And then if people don't have anything else to say in the chat, we can absolutely wrap up a little earlier this week than usual. Next week, it's the second Neo horror special. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that's right. I've got the VHS tapes of 3 Neo horror movies. Of course, we'll be talking Cherry Falls, we'll be talking Urban Legend, and we'll be talking Idle Hands. So we will have a little bit of Jessica Alba funness on the show next week. I'm very much looking forward to that. I'm going to do my retro VHS night, so I'm very much looking forward to that. I got them all in sealed VHS tapes in the other room, so that'll be fun. We'll hold those up. We'll read the back of the boxes maybe for plot synopsises. Next week it is the late 90s. We go back in the time machine 25 years or so. As I needed a sip. Let's see. Have you ever thought to do an episode on Hannibal Lecter movies or not interested? If I'm not mistaken, it may have been one of the early episodes. I think I did do fucking I totally did do Silence of the Lambs. I did it with this girl named Danae. It's her favorite movie. And she was like, we used to talk a lot a couple years ago, and I had her on, and I think we talked about all of them, if I'm not mistaken. If it wasn't on all of them, it may have just been an in-depth deep dive on the OG. And if so, I would totally do the Hannibal Lecter series. Like, granted, Hannibal is not a movie I like at all. Red Dragon is okay. Red Dragon's okay. Hannibal Rising is a guilty pleasure. And then the show with... what's his name? Michael, what the fuck is his name? Mads Mikkelsen. Mads Mikkelsen's in the show. He's Hannibal Lecter in the show. I've never seen that show, so maybe I would totally be open to it. I wouldn't say no. Let's see. Would you say 7 is your fave true crime serial killer fic, or at least top 5? Absolutely, without a doubt. I mean, if you're saying true crime serial, like the whole detective aspect of it, yeah. I mean, that's probably number 1. I mean, can you name me 4 better? Like, I don't know if you can name me 4 or 5 better. So yeah, for that, probably number 1. Would you see a Kubrick versus King miniseries? I mean, I don't know. It wasn't that big of a versus to me. Like, it's more about the aftermath of that, right? It wasn't really during the filmmaking like that they have all these stories, or Stephen King was there and he was told to go fuck himself. Something like that. So I don't know. I would, if you're asking me like my dream series of like a movie being made, my answer would, without a fucking hesitation, would be Dawn of the Dead. Like, I would love, give me a 10 episode miniseries of everything that went on to make that movie. because you have a lot of people that are still alive that were there and made it, right? Of course, obviously, you don't have George anymore, but I would love to get all those people involved and like accurately try to show the retelling of how they made the greatest movie of all time. Like that. I know they did that with The Godfather, right? They did that series with The Godfather, and I didn't care. I like The Godfather, but I'm not a mark for it like some people. Dawn of the Dead, I would kill to see that for. I don't think it'll ever happen, unfortunately, because there's a piece of shit named Richard Rubenstein that probably would stop that from happening. But if you're asking me my dream miniseries, that's the one right then and there. Confessions of a Serial Killer is very good. Okay, top 5 for sure. I agree. Favorite action horror movie of the early 90s. Horror action movie of the early 90s. I mean, Universal Soldier is not really a horror movie, even though they do kind of get killed and are zombie androids that have action scenes. So kind of Universal Soldier. I think that would be my answer. Not much horror in there, but enough. I don't know. You kick ass, I kiss ass. And we're fucking cracking skulls. My name is Lieutenant Andrew Scott. Dolph Lundgren's great in that. His best role. Great show, buddy. Thank you, Merns. I appreciate that. Grande, what is your favorite part of a serial killer movie? Psychological characters based on true stories, story development, etc. I'm curious. I think for me, it's two things mainly, not just one. It would be psychology, right? The whole psychology of what it is to be a killer, and the lead performance. Like, I think that's the most vital part of your serial killer movie, right? We talked about Charlize Theron, who won an Academy Award for that performance, right? I don't know if Monster's ever considered in that ballpark category without her. Same with Henry. If you got a bad actor, as much as I love Eric Freeman, imagine Eric Freeman playing Henry. It's just the movie doesn't work at that point. Eric Freeman works Silent Night, Deadly Night too, but not for a movie like Henry. So to me, it's the psychology and it's the lead performance. I also, obviously, the direction being as raw as possible helps for me and what I like to see in that type of movie. But to answer your question, lead performance and psychology. Ed O'Neill calls you. He says he wants to star in doing horror movies. Would you suggest he goes more of a Loomis route, or perhaps he plays a tricky recluse that is a slasher? Wow, that is a fucking peculiar question. I don't know. Let me read this one more time. Ed O'Neill calls you. He says he wants to start doing horror movies. Would you suggest he goes more of a Loomis route, or perhaps he plays a tricky recluse that is a slasher? What should he do in horror? Maybe he plays a tricky recluse that's a killer. I don't know. Ed asks, thanks. I think John Doe is a better villain than Michael Myers. Ooh, hot take. Okay. Possible future show. I'd like to see a female actress spotlight. We did one with Betty Davis. So yeah, I would always be down for that. If there's actresses you guys would like to see me cover, by all means, throw them out there. Like, I was thinking for the next actor spotlight, I wanted to do another like comedic actor. I was thinking like Chevy Chase, or I don't know. I'm like leaning that way for some reason. Like, I don't know, but I'd be open. I totally will listen to you guys. Yes, Dawn of the Dead, dude. I want to see that show. Giamatti as Kubrick. Oh my God, who is Stephen King? Paul Giamatti as Kubrick. Yes, we have to make that. Come on. Hannibal TV show was outstanding. I've heard that. He was at the very first horror convention I ever went to. It was headlined by him and Romero. Obviously, I spent all my time waiting online for George Romero, but I remember he was there when that show was booming. That's right around the time The Walking Dead was booming too. So yeah, gotta love Dr. Lecter. For the love you have for Dawn, your expectations probably would be crushed by the series. That's a big possibility. I mean, granted, this is, again, come from a guy that I like the Dawn of the Dead remake, so who knows? But you're right. I mean, if it's something that it's my favorite movie, it's going to be hard to like capture that, obviously, because there's no movie in the world, in my opinion, that tops it. So that would be hard to do for sure. I know, like, they're usually movies that have like controversial sets, right? That's the movies that you want to see them making a movie of a movie on, right? Like, that's totally, I get that, but Dawn of the Dead isn't really one of those movies. But out of being a big fan, that's why. Yeah, I'd agree, AJ, that show was the best adaptation. Really? Wow. No Manhunter love? Because I know McDevitt loves Manhunter. Would a horror movie set on a cruise ship be good now? Have you taken a cruise before? No, I've never been on a cruise. Fuck, I mean, Ghost ship is the biggest reason why you should never make another fucking horror movie on a boat. I mean, the original Ghost Ship's okay, not the fucking. I'm talking about the 2002 one with the fucking the Italian lounge singer that seduces a fucking married man. Holy shit, I hate that movie. And it has the worst soundtrack in the history of soundtracks. No, don't fucking no more horror movies on a boat. Ed O'Neill for sure. Even if he does horror, will have a wife 30 years younger. Yeah, is Negan a serial killer? Negan. What do you mean, Negan? Negan who? Grande do a best and worst zombie movies. Oh, we could totally do that. There's plenty of bad zombie movies we've never discussed, like Lake of the Dead from Jesus Franco. Would Woody Harrelson and Patricia Arquette as Eli and Pamela Voorhees? Hell no. Never, ever, ever bring Elias Voorhees into it, man. No, hell no. Don't. Hell no. Hannibal's pretty underrated as a villain. He gets overshadowed by John Kramer a lot. Yeah, that's true. That's totally true, actually. I like Hannibal as a villain as well. Although the movie Hannibal leaves a little bit to be desired. Negan from the... Oh, okay. So I watched season 1 of The Walking Dead and really liked it. Then I made the mistake of watching season 2, and it fucking sucked. So I never watched past the second season, so I couldn't even tell you. Maybe he's in the first 2 seasons. I don't remember that character's name. That show is completely erased from my mind. Negan from the... Okay, I honestly haven't seen enough of that show. I've seen 2 seasons. Day of the Dead is one of my favorite zombie films. That's probably number 2. Yes, he's a serial killer. Okay. He killed my boy Glenn. Oh, did he? Oh, man. There's like so many seasons of that show I couldn't. You think they're referring to Megan the AI doll? Imagine. How about a movie set in 1776 where... That is hysterical. Could you imagine that? Like Benjamin Franklin versus Jaws. Hey, Grande. Not sure if anyone brought this up, but are you a fan of Dexter? I like the show Dexter a lot. We did someone early in the show mentioned Dexter. I really like that show, and I mentioned that they're doing the prequel show now. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't have much interest in that, but I liked the original show. I like Michael C. Hall. I love Jennifer Carpenter. I like that show a lot, to long story short. Ken Skittles, there's like 11 to 12 seasons. Yeah, exactly. I tapped out after 2. The second season I thought was so putrid that I was like, I'm good on ever watching this again. Never mind. I was so confused too. I thought they meant like Reagan from The Exorcist. I'm like, no. But I didn't know what the fuck was going on. But thank you guys. This was a fun like Q&A portion. Speaking of that though, Grande's Graveyard 300 is coming up. It's going to be, I think, in March, because this is episode like 289 or 290 or something. Like, we're coming close on it. So that's going to be fun. What we'll do for that is going to be a big like triple giveaway again. Either that, or if we hit 2,000 subs, that would be nice. But we'll probably do episode 300, a big giveaway Q&A like we've done in the past. So just wanted to get you guys know that. That's like a few weeks down the road. It's going to be like 10 shows away or something like that. But, very excited for that. Grande, if you do zombies, I'll be your guest. Oh, you're more than welcome on here. Hey, Fever. Hey, Miss C. Great stream, my man. Only on the Graveyard. Chris C, the Slashers dude. Thank you so much. Everybody, thank you so much for joining me. This was a lot of fun, of course. If you are catching the replay, comment down below. Let me know what you think of the serial killer movies that we talked about, Monster, Henry, and Seven, respectively. Brittany says, my birthday's in March. Let's go. Only. Well, then, you know what? You're going to have to get a free entry or something if it's your birthday. If it's your birthday night, we got to give you a free entry or something. One more question before we go. Thoughts on A24 movie now filming called Acid Mountain. A woman captures people and tests acid on them and masks and straitjackets them with sharp objects, cliff sides, and makes. Wow. My thoughts on that is that sounds pretty fucking insane. That sounds pretty nuts. I don't know. I have not seen a trailer yet. I can maybe judge it then. Awesome show as always. Always a pleasure. Yes, absolutely. Thank you guys so much. Always a pleasure with you guys too. But everybody have a safe, happy, healthy weekend, and we will catch you next time for the Neo 90s Horror Night number 2, only on the Graveyard. Too sweet peace. Good night, everybody.